The morning started like any other Tuesday on Earth. People were drinking coffee, heading to work, and complaining about traffic. Then, every screen on the planet turned bright red. Phones, televisions, computers, even the massive digital billboards in Times Square and Gangnam all displayed the same thing. A face appeared. It wasn't human. The creature had 4 eyes arranged in a square pattern, skin that looked like rough leather, and a mouth full of what could only be described as too many teeth. "People of Earth," the creature said in a voice that had been translated into every language simultaneously. "I am Supreme Commander Thulvan of the Valkyrie Empire. We have conquered 47 star systems. We have brought order to hundreds of worlds. Now we come to you." In Seoul, Commander Jin Woo was eating breakfast when his phone started showing the alien broadcast. He stopped with his chopsticks halfway to his mouth and stared at the screen. Around him in the small restaurant, everyone else was doing the same thing. "You have 24 hours to surrender," Thulvan continued. "Kneel before the Valkyrie Empire. Accept our rule. Or we will destroy your civilization and take your world by force. We have done this before. We will show you what happens to those who refuse." The screen changed to show footage of other planets. Cities burning, buildings collapsing, beings that looked nothing like humans running in terror as ships fired down from the sky. The images were meant to inspire fear. They were meant to make humanity understand the seriousness of the situation. Then something unexpected happened. Someone in the restaurant laughed. It started as a small chuckle from a college student in the corner. Then an older businessman snorted. Within seconds, the entire restaurant was laughing. Jinwoo looked around in confusion before he felt a smile tugging at his own lips. "Did he just say we have to kneel?" Lieutenant Hana said, walking into the restaurant and staring at her phone. She was Jinwoo's second-in-command at the United Earth Defense Force. "Is this a joke?" "I don't think they're joking," Jinwoo replied, but he was smiling too. "I think they're serious. That's what makes it funny," Hana said, sitting down across from him. "They actually think we're going to be scared." Around the world, the reaction was similar. In New York, people on the subway were showing each other the broadcast and laughing. In Mumbai, a group of teenagers immediately started making memes. In London, a news anchor tried to report on the alien ultimatum but kept breaking into giggles. In Lagos, people were sharing jokes about the aliens on social media faster than the post could be counted. Within an hour, the internet exploded. Someone created a website that played the alien broadcast but replaced Thulvan's voice with a cartoon character. It got 50 million views in the first 10 minutes. A popular comedian posted a video titled "Alien Karen Wants to Speak to Earth's Manager" that went viral instantly. Memes flooded every social media platform. "We have to kneel? Kneel? Do they know how bad my knees are?" One post read, "Imagine traveling across the galaxy just to get ratioed on." Twitter said another, "Me telling the aliens they can't park there. Spaceship here without a permit." Read a caption. Under a picture of a stern-looking parking enforcement officer at the United Nations building. The Security Council held an emergency meeting. President Park Min-seo of the East Asian Coalition arrived expecting panic and chaos. Instead, she found the delegates trying not to laugh. "Order, please," the Secretary General said, though he was smiling himself. "We need to discuss this situation seriously." "What's there to discuss?" the British representative said. "They want us to surrender to them." "Have they seen our military capabilities? Have they done any research at all?" "Maybe we should just ignore them," suggested the Japanese delegate. "They'll probably get bored and leave. We could send them a fruit basket with a note saying thanks." "But no thanks," the Australian representative added, which got actual laughs from around the room. President Park tried to bring order to the meeting. Ladies and gentlemen, we should at least respond. If not out of concern, then out of basic courtesy. They did travel all this way. Fine, the American representative said. Let's send them our basic welcome package. The one we prepared for first contact scenarios. Show them what Earth is actually capable of. Maybe they'll understand their mistake and leave peacefully. In orbit above Earth, 300 Valkyrie warships waited. Supreme Commander Thulvin sat in his command chair on the flagship, watching his tactical displays with growing confusion. Sir, his second-in-command Kursith reported. Earth's military alert status hasn't changed. They're still at peacetime levels. What? Thulvin stood up. We just threatened to destroy their civilization. Why haven't they mobilized their forces? I don't know, sir. We're also detecting unusual activity on their communication networks. Massive amounts of data being shared. It could be evacuation plans or emergency coordination. Thulvin studied the data flowing from Earth. What are they saying? One of the communication officers looked uncomfortable. Sir, they appear to be laughing at us. They're creating what they call memes about our ultimatum. Memes? Thulvin didn't know that word. Humorous images and videos, sir? They're making jokes. About us? Thulvin's four eyes narrowed. This wasn't the response they got from other civilizations. Usually, there was panic, desperate attempts at negotiation, or immediate military mobilization. But laughter? Jokes? This was unprecedented. Broadcast the message again, he ordered. Louder this time. Make sure they understand we're serious. The message was broadcast again. Earth's response was immediate. Someone hacked into the Valkyrie communication system. Instead of the threatening message, a song started playing. It was called Never Gonna Give You Up by an Earth artist named Rick Astley. The Valkyrie crew didn't understand the reference, but on Earth, billions of people watched the aliens get rickrolled and couldn't stop laughing back at Seoul headquarters. Jinwoo received a call from the UN. They wanted Earth Defense Force to make formal contact with the aliens. Not because they were scared, but because someone should probably explain the situation to these confused invaders. They want me to talk to them? Jinwoo asked. Not you, the UN representative said. Ambassador Jiho will handle the diplomatic side. But we need military presence too. You and Lieutenant Hana should go with him. Also bring Dr. Soman from Xenobiology and Yuna from Linguistics. What do you want us to tell them? Hana asked. The truth, the representative replied. That they've made a rather significant mistake. Jinwoo looked out the window at the sky. Somewhere up there, 300 alien warships were waiting for Earth to surrender. He wondered what the aliens would think when they learned the truth about humanity. This is going to be interesting, Hana said, reading his thoughts. That's one word for it, Jinwoo replied. The deadline was 23 hours away. Earth was still laughing. And the Valkyrie were about to learn that sometimes the most dangerous civilizations are the ones that don't look dangerous at all. The small diplomatic shuttle left Earth's atmosphere 12 hours after the ultimatum was broadcast. Inside, Ambassador Jiho sat calmly reviewing his notes while Dr. Soman checked her scientific equipment and Yuna practiced various alien greeting phrases. Commander Jinwoo and Lieutenant Hana sat in the pilot's seats, guiding the shuttle toward the massive Valkyrie flagship. That's a big ship, Hana observed as they approached. The flagship was easily 5 kilometers long, covered in weapons and armor plating. It looked like something designed to inspire fear. Size isn't everything, Soman said from the back, her eyes on her scanner. Their hull composition is interesting, though. Looks like they're using traditional titanium alloys. We stopped using that about 100 years ago. Don't tell them that right away, Jiho said with a slight smile. Let's try to be diplomatic first. The shuttle docked with the flagship, and the Earth delegation was escorted through the ship by armed Valkyrie guards. The aliens stood nearly 7 feet tall and carried weapons that hummed with energy. They were clearly trying to be intimidating. Hannah had to resist the urge to laugh. Supreme Commander Thulvin waited for them in the command center. The room was dark and filled with holographic displays showing various tactical information. Thulvin sat in an elevated chair that made him look down on his visitors. "Humans," he said, his voice deep and threatening. "You have 13 hours remaining. Have you come to surrender?" Jiho stepped forward and bowed politely. "Supreme Commander, we've come to talk. We want to understand your position and explain ours." "There is nothing to explain," Thulvin said. "Surrender or die. Those are your options." "Yes, we heard that," Jiho said patiently. "But we're confused about why you think we would choose either option." Thulvin leaned forward. "Because we are superior. Look at our fleet. 300 warships. We have conquered 47 systems. Our technology is advanced beyond your understanding." Soman made a small noise. Everyone looked at her. She was staring at her scanner with a puzzled expression. "Something wrong, Doctor?" Jinwoo asked. "No, Sorry. Please continue," Soman said, though she kept looking at her readings. Thulvin activated a holographic display. It showed footage of the Valkyrie destroying cities on other worlds. Buildings exploded. Populations fled in terror. It was meant to demonstrate their power. "This is what happens to worlds that resist," Thulvin said. "Your civilization is young. You haven't even left your solar system. Submit now, and your people can be spared." "About that," Eunice spoke up. "We've been meaning to ask. Why do you think we haven't left our solar system?" "Because you lack the technology," Kursith answered from beside Thulvin. "Your civilization is still primitive." Someone couldn't hold it in anymore. "I'm sorry, but your technology is approximately 200 years behind ours. Your weapons, your shields, your engines. All of it. We could build your ships with equipment from our museums." The command center went silent. Every Valkyrie officer stared at the small human woman who had just insulted their entire empire. "That's impossible," Thulvin said quietly. "I can show you the data," Soman offered, holding up her scanner. "Your plasma weapons operate at about 40 million degrees. Ours operate at 200 million. Your shields can absorb maybe 3 terawatts of energy. Ours can handle 3,000. Your faster-than-light drive uses a basic warp field that's very inefficient. We developed quantum slip drives decades ago." Thulvin looked at Kursith. His second-in-command was frantically checking their own scans of Earth. "Sir," Kursith said slowly, "she's right. I'm looking at the energy signatures from Earth. The power generation alone is far beyond what we estimated." "But you haven't expanded," Thulvin insisted. "You have no colonies, no empire. If you're so advanced, why haven't you conquered other worlds?" This was the question Jiho had been waiting for. He took a breath and began to explain. "Supreme Commander, Earth went through a very dark period about 300 years ago. We developed technology faster than our wisdom. We created weapons that could destroy planets. We built machines that could think faster than us. We engineered diseases that could wipe out entire populations. And we used all of these things on each other." He paused, letting that sink in. "We almost destroyed ourselves 7 times. Nuclear war, biological weapons, artificial intelligence gone wrong, nanotechnology that almost consumed our entire biosphere, climate collapse, resource wars. We came very close to extinction multiple times." Yuna picked up the explanation. "Each time we survived, we learned. We developed better technology not to conquer others, but to defend ourselves from our own weapons. Every defensive system, every shield, every countermeasure exists because we needed it to stop ourselves. When we finally achieved peace, Jiho continued, we made a decision. We would stay home until we were mature enough to venture out responsibly. We didn't want to spread our violence to the stars. We didn't want to become conquerors. So we waited. We're still waiting. Thulvin was quiet for a long time. He looked at the humans standing in his command center. They weren't afraid. They weren't trying to negotiate. They were just explaining, as if talking to a confused child. You're saying your weapons are more advanced than ours because you built them to fight yourselves? He finally asked. Yes, Jinwoo confirmed. Our planet has defense systems designed to stop threats that make your fleet look like toys. No offense. Some offense taken? Kursith muttered. On Earth. The countdown continued. 11 hours remaining. The initial humor had faded a bit as people realized the aliens might actually be serious about attacking. News channels showed the Valkyrie fleet in orbit, counting down the deadline. At Seoul headquarters, General Tae-seung convened a meeting with the top military commanders from around the world. The mood was different now, more serious. If they attack, General Tae-seung said, we'll have to respond. And our response will be devastating. A screen showed Earth's defensive capabilities. The planetary shield network. The weapon platforms on the Moon and Mars. The autonomous defense systems in the asteroid belt. The classified weapons that humanity had built during its violent period and locked away. We could destroy their fleet in seconds, one commander said. But should we? That's the question, Tae-seung replied. If we destroy them, we prove that we're still violent, that we haven't really changed. But if we let them attack without responding, they'll think we're weak. There's a third option, Captain Dae-hyun suggested. He was in charge of the Lunar Defense Station. We disable them. Show them our capabilities without killing anyone. Make it clear that attacking us is pointless. Protocol Mercy, another commander said, nodding. It was designed for exactly this scenario. Back on the Valkyrie flagship, the conversation continued. Thulvin was struggling to understand what he was hearing. In all his years of conquest, he had never encountered a civilization like this. You could destroy us? He asked the humans directly. Probably, Jiho admitted. We don't want to find out. That's why we're here talking. And if we attack anyway? Jinwoo answered this time. Then we'll stop you. With minimal force. We don't want to hurt you, Commander. We just want you to understand that threatening Earth is pointless. Thulvin stood up from his chair and walked to a viewport. He looked down at the blue planet below. It looked peaceful, beautiful, not like a fortress world. Show me, he said quietly. Show me your defenses. Are you sure? Hannah asked. Yes, I need to see for myself. Jiho contacted Earth and relayed the request. Within minutes, approval came back. Earth would give the Valkyrie a demonstration. 6 hours remained on the ultimatum when Earth prepared to show the Valkyrie what they were really facing. Ambassador Jiho stood beside Supreme Commander Thulvin at the viewport of the flagship, looking down at the blue planet below. Before we begin, Jiho said carefully, I want you to understand something. What we're about to show you is only our defensive capability. Our actual weapons are much more dangerous. We locked them away because they scared us. We nearly destroyed ourselves with them. Thulvin said nothing. His 4 eyes were fixed on Earth. Captain Dae-hyun coordinated the demonstration from the Lunar Defense Station. The moon had been converted into a massive military installation during humanity's paranoid years. Now it served as the control center for Earth's planetary defense network. All systems online, Dae-hyun reported to Seoul headquarters. Shield network ready, awaiting authorization. General Tae-seung gave the order. Authorized. Let's show them what they're dealing with. On the Valkyrie flagship, Dolvin turned to his weapons officer. Fire your strongest weapon at the planet. Full power. The officer hesitated. Sir, do it. They asked us to. The Valkyrie charged their main plasma lance, a weapon designed to penetrate planetary defenses. It took 30 seconds to reach full power. When it fired, the beam was bright enough to illuminate the entire command center. It lanced down toward Earth like a spear of pure energy. On Earth's surface, people had gathered outside to watch. In Seoul, crowds filled the streets. In New York, people stood on rooftops. Everyone had their phones out, recording. There was an excitement in the air, like watching a fireworks show. The plasma beam hit Earth's atmosphere, and something incredible happened. The air itself seemed to shimmer and solidify. The beam splashed against an invisible barrier like water hitting a window. The energy dispersed harmlessly, creating beautiful aurora effects that rippled across the sky in waves of green and blue and purple. People cheered. Someone started singing. A child asked her mother if they could see it again. On the flagship, every Valkyrie officer stared in disbelief. Their most powerful weapon, the one that could crack a planet's crust, had been stopped by something they couldn't even see. Fire again, Thulvin ordered quietly. They fired 3 more times. Each shot created another spectacular light show in Earth's atmosphere. None of them came close to reaching the surface. Dr. Soman checked her tablet. Your weapons are heating our shield grid by about 0.003 of a degree. At this rate, you'd need to fire continuously for about 600 years to cause any real problem. That's impossible, Kursith said, but his voice lacked conviction now. Would you like to see the city shields? I asked. Each major population center has its own defensive grid. Watch. On Earth, Seoul activated its local shield. A faint dome of light appeared over the entire city, visible for just a moment before fading back to transparency. Then Tokyo did the same. Then London. Then New York. Then Mumbai. Hundreds of cities around the world lit up their shields one after another, a cascade of protective domes that circled the globe. Each city can withstand a direct hit from a nuclear weapon, Jinwoo explained. We built them because we were afraid we'd attack ourselves again. We haven't used them in 80 years. Thulvin felt something he hadn't felt in decades of conquest. Fear. Not for himself, but for his fleet, his crew, his entire civilization. He had attacked a fortress world, thinking it was undefended. Show me more, he said. Captain Daehyun activated the next phase. On the moon's surface, panels slid open to reveal weapon platforms. Hundreds of them. They tracked the Valkyrie fleet with perfect precision. None of them fired, but the message was clear. They could fire at any moment. Railguns, someone explained to the stunned Valkyrie. They fire projectiles at a significant fraction of light speed. We also have particle beam weapons, quantum disruptors, and antimatter missiles. Those are just the conventional weapons. The really dangerous ones are still locked away. Mars activated its defense network next. Automated drones rose from the red planet's surface. Thousands of them, moving in perfect formation. The asteroid belt lit up with warning beacons marking the locations of automated defense platforms. You've fortified your entire solar system, Kursith said in a hollow voice. This isn't a civilization. This is a military installation the size of a star system. We prefer to think of it as a very well-protected home, Jiho replied gently. On Earth, the mood was shifting. The initial humor had faded. People were starting to realize that the aliens might actually attack despite seeing Earth's defenses. Some were scared now. Others were angry that these invaders had threatened their home. At Seoul headquarters, alarms started blaring. Sensor operators called out urgent reports. Sir, the Valkyrie fleet is powering all weapons. one operator reported to General Taesung. "They're preparing for a full assault. They think we're bluffing," Commander Jinwoo said over the communication link from the flagship. "They can't accept that they're outmatched." Taesung made a decision he had hoped he wouldn't have to make. Activate Protocol Mercy. Prepare Nanite swarms. Disable their fleet if they attack, but no lethal force. I want every Valkyrie crew member alive and unharmed. Understood, sir. On the flagship, Thulvan was having an intense conversation with his senior officers. The humans could hear them arguing in their own language. "We cannot retreat without trying," one officer insisted. "The Empire will see it as weakness." "The Empire will see total defeat as weakness too," another replied. "Perhaps they're faking it," a third suggested. "Perhaps their shields are only visual effects." Thulvan silenced them all. He turned to face the humans. "You say you could destroy our fleet easily?" "Yes," Jiho confirmed. "Prove it?" "Commander, I don't think—" "Prove it," Thulvan repeated firmly. "Attack one of our ships. Any ship. Show me your offensive capability." Ambassador Jiho looked at Jin Woo, who contacted Seoul. There was a long pause while the request was discussed. Finally, General Taesung approved. "We'll demonstrate on one of your smaller escort ships," Jinwoo said. "Non-lethal demonstration. We'll disable it and then repair it after." Thulvan designated a ship on the edge of his formation. "That one." From the moon, a single small object launched. It was barely larger than a coin. It accelerated toward the designated Valkyrie ship at impossible speeds, moving so fast it was just a blur. The Valkyrie ship's sensors detected it too late. The object struck the hull and began to do something strange. The ship's weapons simply stopped working. Not broken, not destroyed. They just stopped. Piece by piece, component by component, the weapons were being disassembled at the molecular level. "What is that thing?" Kursith demanded. "Nanite swarm," someone explained. "Microscopic machines controlled by quantum AI. They can disassemble anything down to individual atoms. Very precisely, very quickly. Within 2 minutes, the Valkyrie ship was completely disarmed. Its weapons were gone. Not destroyed, just gone. The crew was fine. Life support was untouched. But every offensive system had been removed. "We'll put them back later," Hana promised. "Better versions, actually, more efficient." Thulvan stared at the disabled ship. One small object had completely neutralized a warship in 2 minutes. And Earth had thousands of those objects ready to launch. "If we attack," he said slowly, "you'll do that to all our ships?" "In about 7 seconds, Jinwoo confirmed. "But we don't want to. That's why we're talking to you. That's why we've been trying to make you understand. We don't want to fight you, Commander. We just want you to leave us in peace." The command center was silent. Every Valkyrie officer now understood the situation. They had threatened a civilization that could wipe them out without breaking a sweat. And that civilization was trying very hard not to hurt them. It was humbling and terrifying, and completely unlike any conquest the Valkyrie had ever attempted. Thulvan looked at the countdown. 4 hours remained. "I need to think," he said quietly. The deadline arrived with a silence that seemed to hold the entire galaxy in suspense. 3 hours of discussion had changed nothing in Thulvan's mind. He sat in his command chair, watching the countdown reach 0, and made his decision. "All ships," he broadcast to his fleet. "Fire everything." Ambassador Jiho, still on the flagship, felt his heart sink. "Commander, please don't do this." "I have to," Thulvan replied quietly. "If I return without even trying to attack, my people will never respect the threat you represent. They need to see with their own eyes. 300 Valkyrie warships opened fire at once. Plasma lances, kinetic missiles, fusion warheads, electromagnetic pulses. Everything they had. the largest coordinated assault the Valkyrie Empire had ever launched. The space around Earth lit up like a new sun being born. On Earth's surface, people watched the sky turn bright as day. The shields absorbed every single shot, creating a light show that could be seen from half the planet. For 7 seconds, the night became brighter than noon. Then Earth responded. It wasn't dramatic. There were no massive explosions or beam weapons firing back. Instead, thousands of small objects emerged from the lunar surface. They looked like silver insects, each one no larger than a human hand. They moved through space in perfect formation, accelerating to speeds that shouldn't have been possible. The nanite swarms reached the Valkyrie fleet in less than 3 seconds. What happened next would be discussed in Valkyrie military academies for generations. The swarms moved through the fleet like water flowing around rocks. They touched each ship for just a moment, and in that moment, everything changed. On the flagship, Thulvin watched his weapon system shut down. Not damaged, not destroyed, simply turned off. He tried to override them. Nothing responded. His weapons officer reported that the plasma lance had been taken apart at the molecular level. The actual atoms that made up the weapon had been separated and removed. It was the same across the entire fleet. Within 30 seconds, 300 warships were completely disarmed. Engines still worked. Life support continued. Communications functioned normally. But every single offensive system was gone. Then Commander Jin Woo's voice came over every ship's communication system. He spoke in perfect Valkyrie, his tone calm and measured. Your fleet is disabled but intact. Your crews are unharmed. We could have destroyed you in the first microsecond of your attack. We chose not to. Please stand by while we move you to a safer orbit. Invisible tractor beams, another technology the Valkyrie didn't possess, gently pulled the entire fleet away from Earth's defensive perimeter and toward the moon. The warships drifted helplessly, unable to resist, unable to fight back. On Earth, people watched the night sky as 300 alien warships were tugged away like boats on a river. News channels showed the event live. Military experts explained that Earth had just captured an entire invasion fleet without firing a single destructive shot. In Seoul, the crowds that had gathered to watch erupted in cheers. Not because of victory in battle, but because humanity had proven something important. They could defend themselves without becoming killers. On the flagship, Supreme Commander Thulvin sat in his chair with his head in his hands. He had just watched his entire career end. The mighty Valkyrie fleet, conquerors of 47 systems, had been defeated in 30 seconds without Earth even trying very hard. Ambassador Jiho approached him carefully. Commander, I'm sorry it came to this. Are you? Thulvin looked up, his 4 eyes filled with a complex mix of emotions. You just humiliated the entire Valkyrie military. You destroyed our reputation. You ended my career, and possibly my life. We disabled your weapons, Dr. Soman said gently. We didn't destroy anything else. Your ships are intact. Your crew is alive. In a few days, we'll have your systems repaired and upgraded. You'll leave here with better ships than you arrived with. Why? Thulvin asked simply. Why would you do that? We attacked you. We threatened your world. By every rule of warfare, you should destroy us. Yuna sat down near the Valkyrie commander. Because we've been where you are. We know what it's like to think that strength means conquest. We spent thousands of years believing that. It nearly destroyed us. She pulled up a holographic display showing Earth's history. Images of ancient wars, medieval battles, world wars, nuclear explosions, cities in ruins. The dark years when humanity almost ended itself. We were violent, she continued. We were aggressive. We conquered each other over and over. We built bigger weapons and better armies. We thought that was what being strong meant. What changed? Kursith asked quietly. We nearly went extinct, Jinwoo answered. 7 times we came close to total destruction. Each time we survived by luck more than wisdom. Eventually, we realized that true strength isn't about how much you can destroy. It's about how much you can protect, how much you can build instead of break. At Seoul headquarters, General Taesung addressed the captured Valkyrie fleet. His message was broadcast to every ship. People of the Valkyrie Empire, you are not prisoners. You are guests. We will repair your ships and upgrade them with modern safety systems. We will give you supplies and fuel. In 1 week, you will be escorted to the edge of our solar system and allowed to leave freely. We ask only that you share what you've learned here with your empire. The message was translated into Valkyrie language. Across the fleet, crew members reacted with shock. They had expected death or slavery. Instead, they were being offered hospitality. Lieutenant Hana watched the Valkyrie ships from her patrol craft. Do you think they'll come back with a bigger fleet? She asked over the comlink. Commander Jinwoo considered the question. I don't think so. They're not stupid. They understand now what we are. And more importantly, they understand what we're not. What do you mean? We're not conquerors, Jinwoo explained. We could have destroyed them. We could have enslaved them. We could have used them as an example to scare away other civilizations. But we didn't. That tells them more about us than any weapon demonstration could. Over the next several hours, Earth sent teams of engineers to the Valkyrie ships. Technician Minho led one team, Specialist Jiwon led another. They boarded the alien vessels and began the process of repairing and upgrading the systems that the nanites had disabled. The Valkyrie crew members watched in amazement as the humans worked. They moved efficiently, professionally, and with genuine care for the quality of their work. There was no mockery, no cruelty, no exploitation. Just skilled people doing a job well. Your reactor efficiency was only about 40%, Minho explained to a Valkyrie engineer. We're upgrading it to 70%. You'll get twice the range out of the same amount of fuel. Why are you helping us? The Valkyrie asked. Because you need help, Minho replied simply. And we can provide it. That's reason enough. On the flagship, Dr. Soman set up a database connection and began transferring information to Thulvin. Human history, philosophy, science, art, everything that had led humanity from its violent past to its peaceful present. This is everything? Thulvin asked, looking at the vast amount of data. Everything we're willing to share, Soman confirmed. Our weapons technology isn't included. That stays locked away. But everything else, our history, our mistakes, our solutions, it's all here. Thulvin spent hours reading. He saw humanity's wars, their genocides, their near extinctions. He saw how they had turned hatred into understanding, violence into peace, conquest into cooperation. It wasn't a simple story. It was messy and complicated and full of failures. But it was also hopeful. How long did this take? He asked Ambassador Jiho. About 300 years from our darkest moment to where we are now, Jiho replied. 300 years of hard work, difficult choices, and lots of failures. We're still not perfect. We still have problems. But we're trying. And you stayed home all this time just to make sure you were ready? Yes, we didn't want to spread our violence to the stars. We've seen what that leads to. We've been that. We didn't want to be that again. Thulvin looked at the blue planet through the viewport. A world that had nearly destroyed itself and chose instead to heal. A civilization that could have built an empire, but chose not to. Warriors who became gardeners. I don't know if my people will believe this, he said quietly. Then show them, Jinwoo suggested. Take our gift of upgraded ships. Take the knowledge we've given you. Show them that there's another path. The Valkyrie commander nodded slowly. He was beginning to understand that he hadn't lost a battle today. He had received an education, and that education might save his entire civilization from the same fate Earth had barely avoided. 1 week later, the Valkyrie fleet prepared to leave Earth's solar system. The ships looked almost identical to when they arrived, but everything had changed. Human engineers had worked around the clock to repair and upgrade every vessel. Technician Minho did a final check on the flagship systems. All reactors operating at optimal efficiency. Navigation systems upgraded. Life support enhanced. You should have a smooth journey home. The Valkyrie engineering officer who had worked alongside him bowed in the human fashion. Thank you. For everything, you're welcome. Try not to threaten any more peaceful civilizations on your way back, Minho said with a small smile. The Valkyrie officer managed to laugh. I don't think we will. Not after this. At Seoul headquarters, Commander Jinwoo watched the preparations on his monitors. Lieutenant Hana stood beside him, reviewing the escort protocols. Squadron ready, she reported. We'll guide them to the edge of the solar system and make sure they get on their way safely. Good, Jinwoo said. Let's send them home with a positive final impression. On the flagship, Ambassador Jiho met with Supreme Commander Tholvan one last time. The Valkyrie commander looked different now. Less proud, but somehow stronger. More thoughtful. Ambassador, Tholvan began, I want to apologize. For threatening your world. For attacking you. For my arrogance. Apology accepted. Jiho replied warmly. We understand. Your empire has been successful with conquest. It's natural to assume that approach would work everywhere. It won't work on Earth, Tholvan said with certainty. That much is clear now. No, Jiho agreed. But more importantly, you've learned why it doesn't work. Not because we're stronger, though we are, but because we've already tried that path and found it leads nowhere good. Dr. Soman joined them, carrying a data storage device. This is for you. Additional information about peaceful civilization building, conflict resolution, sustainable resource management. Things that might help your empire transition away from conquest. If we transition, Tholvan said carefully, I don't know if I can convince the High Council. You don't have to convince them, Yuna suggested. Just show them what you learned. Plant the seeds. Change takes time. We know that better than anyone. The departure was scheduled for noon Seoul time. People around Earth stopped what they were doing to watch. The attempted invasion had become a historic moment, not because of violence, but because of how it ended. News channels showed the Valkyrie fleet in formation, preparing to leave. Reporters interviewed people on the street about their feelings. I'm glad nobody died, one person said. That's what matters most. I hope they learned something, another added. Maybe this will change their empire for the better. I still can't believe they thought we'd just kneel. A third person laughed. Did they even look at our history? We don't kneel for anyone. At the United Nations, President Park Min-seo addressed the assembly. The events of this past week have proven something important. Earth is ready to emerge from isolation. Not as conquerors, but as teachers. We've learned hard lessons that others might benefit from. The proposal she presented was bold. Earth would begin carefully exploring beyond its solar system. They would seek out civilizations and offer friendship, knowledge, trade. They would share the lessons humanity had learned about peace and cooperation. We won't build an empire, Park said firmly. We'll build a community. And we'll start by showing the galaxy that strength and wisdom can coexist. The motion passed with overwhelming support. On the moon, Captain Dae-hyun coordinated the departure procedures. The Valkyrie fleet powered up their upgraded engines. Lieutenant Hana's squadron took formation around them, ready to escort them out of the solar system. All ships ready, Hana reported. Beginning departure sequence. The fleet moved slowly away from Earth, accelerating gradually. People on the planet's surface couldn't see much with the naked eye, but they knew what was happening. The invaders were leaving, peacefully as the Valkyrie ships passed Mars. Thulvin stood at his viewport, watching the red planet drift by. He thought about everything he had learned in the past week, about humanity's violent history, about their choice to change, about their decision to stay home until they were worthy of the stars. Kursith approached him. "Sir, what will you tell the High Council?" "The truth," Thulvin replied. "That we encountered a civilization that could have destroyed us and chose mercy instead. That we found warriors who put down their weapons and picked up gardening tools. That we discovered the future of warfare is not fighting at all. They may not believe you. Then I'll show them the data. I'll show them Earth's history. I'll show them the upgrades they gave our ships for free. Eventually, they'll understand. And if they don't?" Thulvin was quiet for a moment. "Then I'll retire from the military and become a farmer. Earth taught me that there's no shame in choosing peace over war." The fleet reached the heliopause, the edge of Earth's solar system. Hannah's squadron prepared to turn back. "Safe travels, Commander Thulvin," Hannah broadcast to the flagship. "May you find peace in your journey." "Thank you, Lieutenant," Thulvin replied. "And thank Earth for us, for the mercy, for the lessons, for showing us a better way. We will. Goodbye, Valkyrie fleet. Goodbye, Earth." The Valkyrie ships activated their faster-than-light drives and disappeared into the vast darkness of space. Hana's squadron watched them go, then turned back toward the blue planet they called home. Months passed. Life on Earth returned to normal, though the attempted invasion remained a popular topic of discussion. The incident was taught in schools as an example of conflict resolution. Comedians still made jokes about it. And humanity began its first careful steps beyond the solar system, far across the galaxy. Supreme Commander Thulvin returned to the Valkyrie home world. He expected court-martial, disgrace, possibly execution. Instead, the High Council listened to his report in silence. When he finished, the eldest council member spoke. "You were defeated without a single casualty on either side." "Yes, Elder." "They repaired and upgraded your ships?" "Yes, Elder." "And they gave you all this information freely?" "Yes, Elder." The council deliberated for 3 days. Finally, they called Thulvin back to hear their decision. "You were not defeated, Commander," the Elder said. "You were educated. And through you, so are we. The Valkyrie Empire will begin a new path. We will study what Earth has shared. We will reconsider our approach to other civilizations. It will take time," another council member added. "We cannot change an empire overnight. But we will change." Thulvin felt relief wash over him. "Thank you, Elder Council." "Thank Earth," the Elder replied. "They gave us something more valuable than defeat. They gave us hope that we can be better." Back on Earth, Commander Jin Woo stood on the balcony of Seoul headquarters, looking up at the night sky. Lieutenant Hannah joined him, holding 2 cups of coffee. "Thinking about the Valkyrie?" she asked, handing him a cup. "Wondering if we did the right thing," Jin Woo admitted. "What if they come back with a bigger fleet? What if other civilizations hear about this and see it as weakness? Then we'll handle them the same way," Hannah said confidently. "With the minimum force necessary. That's who we are now. That's who we chose to be. When did we become so wise?" "After almost destroying ourselves 7 times, Hannah replied with a slight smile. "You'd think we would have learned faster." They stood in comfortable silence, watching the stars. Somewhere out there, the Valkyrie were heading home. Somewhere else, other civilizations were probably watching Earth with new interest. The galaxy had noticed humanity. "What do you think happens next?" Hannah asked. "More visitors, probably," Jin Woo said. "More civilizations wanting to test us, or trade with us, or learn from us. The galaxy is big. We're not staying hidden anymore. Good, Hana decided. Hiding was boring anyway. In the years that followed, the story of the Valkyrian Earth spread across the galaxy. Different civilizations heard different versions. Some called humanity dangerous pacifists. Others called them reformed warriors. A few called them naive idealists, who would eventually learn that peace doesn't work. But most who heard the story came away with the same thought. There was a civilization out there that nearly destroyed itself and chose a different path. They built weapons that could crack planets and lock them away. They could conquer, but chose not to. They were strong enough to destroy and wise enough to build instead. And when threatened by an empire of conquerors, when given 24 hours to kneel or die, the humans did something unexpected. They laughed, not from foolishness or bravado, but from the understanding that threats only work when there's something to fear. And Earth had already faced the scariest thing in the universe, themselves at their worst. Everything else was manageable by comparison. The attempted invasion became known throughout the galaxy as the Day Earth Laughed. It was studied by military academies, discussed by philosophers, and turned into art by countless species. But the real lesson wasn't about Earth's defensive capabilities or their advanced technology. The real lesson was simpler. The strongest civilizations aren't the ones that conquer the most. They're the ones that conquer themselves first. And humanity, after nearly destroying itself 7 times, had finally learned that lesson. They were still learning, still growing, still making mistakes. But they were trying.